We're gonna keep riding with that because everything that you talked about in terms of the court system and how do I do this and how do I do that falls under this topic, power and control. Now, I know y'all got your little smartphones in there, so without going to a smartphone, let's define power, because we need to see, well, let me ask this. Is there a difference between power and control?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Anybody disagree with that? All right, we all on the same page. What's power?
Force.
Being able to leverage.
Absolutely.
Oh, say that again?
Being able to leverage things.
Leverage?
Money. Enforce your will upon others.
Persuasion. Communication. Higher road, so taking the higher ground.
Knowledge. Two more.
Knowledge.
Knowledge?
No, yeah. Absolute on how it's used.
Say that again?
Absolute on how it's used.
Oh, excuse me.
Patience.
Everybody correct?
Patience.
All right, we're going to write that one, patience, and that'll be the last one on that. It seems like y'all got this power piece pretty good.
So there are three things I know about control. One of them is that control is control is control. Number two is that control can last a second, an hour, or a lifetime. And the third thing I know about control is that every one of us in this room, including the lady over there, is all controlled by someone or something in some way.
Okay. So what's the definition of control without the use of the word?
Oh, God.
He just shut
Time.
me up.
Time.
Manipulation.
Manipulation?
Restriction.
Position.
What was the last one?
Position. And plan.
Planned?
Oh, plan. Like you plan on ahead. Patience is another.
Patience?
Patience is another. Being able to be patient.
Yeah.
Taking the higher ground. You can only control yourself.
Could you put prayer?
I can put whatever you tell me. to
No,
put in my
I'm
mouth.
asking. No, it wasn't a formal question. Sorry. I'm asking. I'm saying.
What if you think that it's relevant to defining control?
Oh, okay.
So we can put it there?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Prayer will be empowered.
But wait a minute, but that's his interpretation.
No.
But no, listen. No. But it's important that we understand that we all have it. Prime example, I'm gonna say a word. First thing come to your mind, I want one word. Heat.
Fire.
Cold.
Hot.
Fire.
Moisture.
Energy. Warm.
Pressure.
Hot.
Basketball.
Now I would say gun. It all depends on the person's condition, right? If I said dime,
If you say what?
dime, D-I-M-E.
Money.
Snitch. Football.
Pot.
I forget the president. I was going to name the president.
Hey, the president.
That's on that dime.
Okay.
Money. Money.
Female.
Top paper.
That's what I said pod. I said pod.
Y'all hang out together, don't
But how many said female? Because that was my thought.
Dime?
A dime?
Yeah, dime babe, yeah.
Yeah, like she's
Tight.
Yeah, I mean, she's a 10.
Dime,
She's a
dime.
perfect. I mean, she's a 10, she's perfect.
But
She's a
listen,
perfect 10.
$10.
listen, we're talking about language. We're talking about language. Right? We're talking about language. Last one, sex. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to smooth it. I guess I was throwing you on that one, right?
I mean, you didn't include me on any of that.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Sex.
Cigarette. Babies.
Huh?
He said cigarettes. Oh, yeah.
Male or female?
Jennifer.
Oh, shoot.
Pregnancy. Complication.
Oversleep. Trouble.
And I would say safe. So we have, and I want you to get an understanding that everybody sees things from a different perspective based on their condition. Gender is very significant as well when you're talking about different things. And a lot of times we miss that part. Males are typically intellectual. I ask you how you feel, you tell me what you think. You ask a woman how she feels, she typically will tell you how she feels because of the emotions. Because and a lot of times we lose sight of the male and female. The men being from Mars and women from Venus is not just cliche.
It's true.
You need to understand the dynamics between the two. So when we define words, and if I turn around and I ask Tracy to define these same words, there may be some similarities. But if you look at the, what am I looking for? The males are competitive, right? So force was the first one put up because we use brute force to control situations. We get to the point where we can't verbalize our emotions, or she ain't feeling, she ain't understanding. What do? We snap. We snap. So we go to a plan B, which is really a plan A, but we're trying to manage ourselves. Because it's really, we know we grip something up. Mom says, be careful. Dad says, run harder. Right? So we have to begin to understand language. And we need to understand the source of our interpretation. Some of it's here, some of it's here. Where's the core of your faith? In your heart. Right?
Right.
Because you have to look at yourself. And I want you to begin to look inside. Because when you start looking inside, you begin to deal with external things differently. You begin to look at external things differently. When you look at the world around you and you perceive the world as being this violent, unfair world, that's intellect. That means you're connecting with the world, you're seeing all these things happen, that you've come to a conclusion. But what happens when you find out something that, some bad information, like something happened to somebody close to you? What's the first thing that happens? Think about it. Is it a thought that happens first?
It's emotion.
Your heart drops before your mouth falls open in disbelief. Right? Think about it. First thing you do, something happens to you. Somebody, who passed? Oh my. It's automatic. It's automatic because of our relationship to the universe, and sometimes we lose sight of that. We're a very small part, but we forget sometimes about our place and how we perceive the rest of the world around us is truly based on intellect.
I was upstate several years ago, and an older guy gave me words of wisdom. He said, intelligence over emotions. When you don't use your intelligence, you're not putting your emotions in check. And therefore, your emotions start running roughshod over you, and therefore you will see yourself in a deeper situation. So if you utilize your God-given intelligence, even though sometimes we may have to grow by it, you would learn how to not put yourselves in vulnerable situations, whereas though that, law and the child's mothers or fathers or whatever.
Yeah. And that's important to understand the difference between intelligence. Because intelligence, where do you get intelligence from? Where's intelligence at? Think about the human development. You as a baby, as a fetus, there's intelligence, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where it begins.
That's where it begins. So that means if the mother is in a stressful situation, that baby is in fact impacted.
Mm-hmm.
You have some therapists that talk about the use of music during the course of pregnancy. Right? Those things are significant. And that's where you have to begin to understand what intelligence is and what your intellect is. Because your intellect is developed where? In your environment. So if I sat you as an infant in an empty room, bright white walls, bright white floor, bright white ceiling, just sat you in that room, you would begin to do something automatically. Now I'm going to throw him into the room with you. And what is he going to do? He's going to influence you in some capacity. You're going to look at how he's dressed. And if you have a pile of clothes over there, right, you'll watch how he's dressed. You'll watch how he walks. You'll watch everything about what he does. What is that? Intelligence. Now, the intellect comes in when you come into the room. You're wearing something different. Now development starts happening because I like that flavor, but I like that, and I can take this away from this and take that away from that and make it my own. Now you're doing what? You're developing. And so when we look at children and how children come into independence, they first learn to be dependent. So they're already dependent from inside. Right? They learn to be independent because they are influenced by their surroundings. Everything that we see in media of all types, everything we see in the household formulates our concept of a woman, of a female. Right? And we take whatever we choose based on how we're developing, how we're nurtured, in terms of how we interact with one another. So you would see her and I arguing all the time. You're internalizing that. That's how you communicate. You don't see nothing wrong with it. Why is it wrong? Y'all are doing it. I don't have the ability to decipher the wrongness in it until I get the information that says it is wrong. What's that record with DMX in it? Walk With Me. When he talks about in there, when I woke up in the morning, he was gone, I knew it was wrong. But dude was still there. He beat on you. And every morning I woke up, he was still there. That reinforced that within me. For those of us who had a promiscuous behavior, where did we learn that from? We learned that from our surroundings.
It's all around us.
It's all around us. So when we start defining words, we define words based on our current condition. Until you start looking at how you are internalizing things. Because when I sit here, and not just in this group, when I sit in every class that I do on fatherhood, you can hear the conditioning. But you ever go to the bathroom, have a bowel movement, you're sitting in there, you're going to the bathroom, and you leave out. Then you go back in. Doesn't it smell different from when you were originally in there? You know why? Because you stepped outside of it. When you're in it,
right. I see what you're saying.
when you're in it, it smells different. You're sitting there chilling, reading the newspaper. I don't invest that much time in your bathroom. I'm in and out. But you're sitting there, you're chilling, and you surround you got the little soft cushion on there. You chill. You maybe got your radio on, and you do what you got to do. And then you roll up out of there. It's just like in relationships. When y'all are going back and forth with one another, when you are constantly at odds with one another, it's the norm. When the kids hear it, it's the norm. It's the norm. That's what they do. They argue. That's how they communicate. Cool. That means that they're going to get back together. But you say they were trying to part ways as a couple and try to reestablish as parents. But you haven't fully parted ways because of that norm of the behavior of arguing. You're still in it because you have not removed yourself, that condition from the circumstance. Until you change your condition, y'all are still going to go through the same thing 15, 20 years from now because that's how you develop your relationship. So it looks like it makes sense. So even if you don't live there, you're still arguing in the courts. You're still arguing every time you talk to one another. What does that show? That you have not stepped out of that relationship yet. So you don't smell it. One second. It's three parts to coming out of a relationship. Physically, spiritually, and mentally. When you walk out the door, that's part one. And you have to understand grief. There's a process of grief. There's a process of grief. It's just like losing someone to death. You still go through the same process of grief. You are angry. You are pissed off.
So physically, mentally, and spiritually?
Yes.
3 parts of what?
Breaking up a relationship.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You physically walk out the door, that's part one. But I've been in this current relationship for a little over 2 years. I just moved in 2 weeks ago. I've been living there for 2 years. I just moved in a couple of weeks ago. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If you came out of the relationship and you have not done any healing, you have not done any work, you are still in that relationship. Who had the hand the first? Okay.
Yeah, I noticed what you said. So up to this day, although I'm not with my ex-wife, she can still get me stirred up. How do you heal when you're still being pierced or stabbed? This is what I'd like to know. Because my conflict doesn't reside with the nature of how our relationship turned out. That's done with. Can
I ask you a question? Is that in terms of hostility and anger?
with my reference to her?
No, how you feel about it?
Yeah, it's not even anger, it's rage.
It's rage. Okay, it has evolved to that now.
Yeah, it's evolved to that because of
this is how I learned to cope with it. Go to Kmart and get a full-size Everlast punching bag and put it in your basement and fill it with sand and beat it like it owes you money.
Yeah, I got one. I got it.
That's a great start.
It's great. Get the gloves or get some fingerless gloves and just beat it until you break a good sweat. It's a great workout. You're not hurting yourself. You're letting the anger out, which is less stress for you. You're working out, and you feel so much calmer and better about it.
Now let me add on to that. I would keep punching until I cried.
There you go. I've done that too.
Okay.
The other piece to that is, because that's just one part, but that goes back to force. That's part of what we do. Everything is about force. Here's what's very important. This is not about her. This is about you. She only can do what you allow her to do. That's with any of us. That's with any of us. Let me help you for a second. We tend to keep saying, well, she pushes this button. You know that's the button. What are you doing about dismantling the button?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's your responsibility. You allowed it to work. She will sit there, listen, I had the experience. My first wife, she would sit there all day long. I'm going to react. Clockwork. Right smack dab in the middle of my flow. What? It happens. And we need to start dismantling these buttons. The young lady had her hand first.
So I think it's safe to say, since we talk about gender differences, I think it's safe to say that when we talk about the self-help industry and healing and those sorts of things, that sort of thing, that women tend to get most of the media. That most of the books and the pamphlets and the shows and all that stuff is geared towards women.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say this with a little bit of expertise in terms of exposure on some ideas. One of the ideas that I received about healing that has worked very well for me involves accepting my experience or the way in which I attracted the situation I was in and forgiving myself for the role I played in. Because once I was able to do that and go through the tears of all that, then I was able to release it and let go. Because one of the main things I've heard over and over that women get told all the time is that more often than not, what you're angry at him about, what you're angry at that other person about, really represents the things in yourself that you haven't reconciled. And when you can do that, when you can take those seeds and dig those out and heal those and accept those parts of yourself, only then can you be able to accept them in others. And not necessarily act as if they're not there, but release them and say they don't have any hold over me anymore.
I've experienced a relationship like that before, like not even a year ago, and it was exactly that. It was exactly that, and I had to learn. Like, she could really put a monkey wrench in your energy, just like how you were just there, like with the button, and she knew exactly how to push her button. She knew exactly the way to do it, and I learned to just separate myself from that person with those three things. You know,
Well, you know,
I can relate to it.
I didn't mean to cut you off, brother. In my regard, I know myself well enough to know that what I did and how I got there. I really evaluated and realized that the reason that I chose her, because she represented my mother, the reason that I tolerated certain things is because the first, like the interview thing we talk about, the first person who she came and brought, I kept waiting for that person. And then later on I realized, oh, you were perpetrating. My situation is that we lost a child behind your what's the word I'm looking? Your insensitivity to my input. Because what happened was, she said she wanted to go, and I told her, like, my intuition was like, nah. My intuition told me, don't go in the car. But again, I allowed her to push my button and drove the car. The outcome turned horrific. Yeah, you got injured, I got injured, we both had a loss, but then I had to walk through society and carry the loss as if I intentionally killed my son. But I let that go, and I proceeded to deal with our other child, so on and so forth. But you're abusing the child. If not only physically, you're emotionally abusing her. And then every step that I am making, regardless of what you have done, you're continuing the same thing. She put me through she had me go to supervised visits. Now, I'm not a child molester, nor am I even abusive, but for the sake of my daughter, I did it. For her to do all of that, to come back to the hearing and say, you know what? Nah, I don't want that no more. And now she has a son, and then the son that she has, which is a newborn or whatever, she pays attention to the son. She gives these different amenities or whatever you will to that son's child while she got our daughter, and she's doing what she's been doing. My anger and my rage resides with the fact that you're ill-treating our daughter. And then I'm going through society and paying for your idiocracy. So that's why, again, it come back again to, you know, I meditate, I pray, but I'm still angry.
May I suggest? Go ahead.
Just to add, so if it were me in your shoes, so what I'm about to say has nothing to do with you being in your shoes, but if it were me in your shoes, what I would also be feeling is a very huge sense of guilt and a huge sense of a huge need to accept that I also feel like I'm at fault for what happened to my son. And what I would then need to do, because of whatever, because I listened to her, because I didn't trust my gut, because I didn't whatever. And this has a lot to do with how women are socialized, to always look at themselves. But what I would then want to do is examine that. Because yes, maybe she was arrogant, but I also did not listen to myself. I also abused myself. So I would own that. I would accept that. And I would forgive myself for that. And when I can do that and say, I made a decision I would rather not have made, but I accept that I am okay, that I am forgiven, that whatever it is, then release that. Then you can say, I am at peace enough to forgive you. But if there's that piece that's in there that's not being dealt with, then it's not, your whole idea of her is not going to ever get fixed, because you still, at the core, have this gut feeling that hasn't been addressed. That's how I'm seeing it. And I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, everything you said makes sense, but my thing is what I'm trying to be able to be astute to is that when I dismiss all of that, and you come and you bring new stuff, like how do I, how's the process? Like the Bible says a king, it says a prudent king forgives an offense. It don't say offenses. One's plural, the other's singular. So I could.
But remember.
But he also
But
said...
it's a generalization of
Oh,
offense.
yeah, that's-
It means like under the category like power, all the things that would be offensive would be in that category. I
But
think it
he
means
also said
generalization.
vengeance is mine. Remember that.
But you, go ahead.
Well, one of the things you can control is your reaction to her offense. Like, you don't have to respond to anything she says. Just concentrate on your child. I think that's one of the most important thing is if she says stuff, just let it go over your head because you can't control her.
Here's the question.
I don't know if that helps out.
No, that makes sense.
Why do we need to forgive a person? That we haven't gotten to ourselves, but why do I need to forgive somebody else?
Because it's good
So
for
you can move forward with them or without them.
Forgiveness is for you.
Yeah, forgiveness is for you.
It's not for them.
I was about to say that. It is for yourself.
And then you have to learn how to forgive yourself. And sometimes what we tend to do as men, we put stuff in this concrete vault. And we lock it away, man, and we hold on to it. Shame, guilt, embarrassment, all those things are in that concrete bunker. And we just push it down, and we push it down, and we keep going outside of us. Again, this is intellectual. Listen to how we intellectualize things. Listen to how we talk ourselves into things, out of things. Listen to how we rationalize and justify the most outrageous sort of nonsense to ourselves just so we can believe it. And then we believe the things, and that's how we carry on our lives. Which is why I always go to your emotions. See, the thing about let me help you out. The heart can never be compromised. I'll tell you why. The mind, at some point in time, begins to go through the aging process. The heart never goes. The heart's typically the last thing to go if you're taking care of yourself. But the mind can be compromised. What you think is always suspect. Without fact. And sometimes what we make ourselves believe that fact is really fiction. There's no substance to it. But we hold on to it. Why? Because it makes us feel better. Why people abuse drugs and alcohol? It makes them feel good. It takes your pain away. We begin to live in oblivious conditions. Oblivious means the state of forgetting. You are trying to forget the pain of your reality. And what's so painful about your reality that you're trying to forget? And when I hear people say that I'm over her or I'm over him, let's stop kidding ourselves. The reality of it is there was a point in time, this was a great, wonderful relationship. I remember when we went to Disney World. First time I'd ever been to Disney World. And we took a picture in front of that globe. You remember the globe? We went to the Please Touch Museum. I'd never been there before, and I touched that shark swimming around. We remember all those things. Now, if you take those events, right, and put them in the forefront of your pain and your suffering of the loss, because what you're experiencing is loss. What he's talking about is anger that most of you feel right now because the relationship is ended. Your hopes, dreams, and aspirations have been compromised. That white picket fence, the house on the hill, that big giant lawn, you riding around on that deer and all that other stuff, how many kids and they're playing ball, that's done. You're not devastated by that? Stop playing. Yes, you are. Remember when I asked you when you first came to class and how you ran in the rave and you were angry at her and you said all these things about her. The first thing I asked you, do you still love her? Remember that day?
Yeah.
I'll never forget that day. What did you say?
I said, hell yeah.
Yeah. Out of all they were going through, out of all the spite, out of all the deceit, out of all the name calling, the bottom line, he still loves his wife. And a lot of times we're afraid to say that we still love that person who we are at odds with. Who we're at odds with because of our own hurt. And it comes down to the misuse here. The things that we can control our mouths. We just don't want to. Why? Because we want to exert force. We want to exert our authority of the other person. We don't want to compromise. We don't want to give in. But how much did you compromise and give in when y'all were seeing each other in the beginning? You know, the days at the chart house when you was like, oh man, this is gonna kill me, bro. Woo! Look good in that dress, and you put it out. It didn't matter then. It didn't matter then. You relinquished everything at that point. Girl, what? Come on, girl, what's up? Right? You was game for anything then. Jump. Not how high, just start jumping. Yeah, you just tell me when to stop, bro. Just tell me when to stop. When we going to the crib, right, anything. Now we're in a situation, we have a child. We have children involved. And now we put our game face on. Nah, see, we're going to do it this way. All this stuff here. But the true power lies within us to change the situation. But we lack tolerance and patience most of the time. See, we don't tolerate this behavior anymore from you. Because you're doing this to the kid, and you keep using the kid as a justification for your continued negative behavior towards her. Oh, we have a child now, you're supposed to. Well, how many of you sold drugs, you did negative things that you were doing that you weren't supposed to be doing when she was pregnant? Things that you should have stopped doing when she got pregnant. The way you talk to her. When you got angry. She's pregnant now, so that means you need to step up your game and be a little more considerate. It's a whole lot of things we need to... Whatever it is, you have to take a look at every aspect of that relationship. But most importantly, you need to take a look at how negative you have turned these things that are really positive for us. Power and control. Listen, we have a lot of that. And we abuse it in so many ways.
So is it safe to say you've given your heart to the man or the woman, and because it perhaps did not come back the same way, that's where the scars and hurts really lie at?
Yeah. You're a good dude. We're good dudes generally. We're not created bad. Our conditioning turns us into who we are today. I may not have loved you from the beginning. I may have, and I gotta look at my intentions. But I'm an overall good dude. I'm gonna take care of my responsibility. You get pregnant, I'm gonna take care of my child. I may not have been focused on the marriage piece. I may just want to ride, with you. We just hang out, have a good time, and all those kind of things. But if you got pregnant, then something changed within me. Because, wait a minute, you carrying mine. That's mine now. Now it's a game changer. Because remember what you wanted for yourself. Now remember what you want for a child. My child won't go through this. My child won't go through that. My child's going to have both parents. My child's going to have this. My child's going to have that.
I got it.
You feel me?
Trying to keep this.
But now it didn't change. Oh, you can't do that. So you can't split the child in half and say, well, I'm going to take you to Disney World. She don't want you to go to those places, so you can't do that. So now you're back to square one, to compromise. Doing anything necessary to compromise for the benefit of the child.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
You work like a plantation slave to get her home. You have to work the same capacity now. It doesn't matter. People deal with their hurt differently. Hurt people.
Yeah.
Y'all are hurt. Y'all are dealing with another hurt person and think you're going to have a healthy outcome?
Yeah. People take that baggage from relationships and take it to another relationship, kind of like they gotta let time to things cool down before you jump into something else. I've seen people do that, and I've done it myself.
Come on, we all do. How many of y'all
you break out with somebody and you get this rebound girlfriend and you nail her and you treat her like shit and she still takes it and you don't care until you find a real one.
A lot of times we care, but we're trying to heal our hurt and
you do, but you don't mean
with
to.
Another woman.
And you don't mean to, but you really do care. But you treat her like shit. Yeah.
We don't mean to. We don't allow men. We are so impatient and listen. We're just so arrogant sometimes. Like I'm gonna fix you. We don't look at how my fixing you really fixed me and fixed the whole family. Because I'm too arrogant to get myself together. I'll go to another woman and spite you with that woman. What are you doing? And then you want me to forgive you. Now I'm really hurt. So it's a lot of stuff that we have to look at about ourselves. Look at everything about yourself. But most importantly, to wrap this up, remember every good time that you had with this woman. Remember the fact that she carried your child for 9 months. Remember through like the mailman, she got to those appointments. She did everything she has to do, and she still continues to do those things to take care of y'all's child. Regardless of anything else, she's angry. You're angry. But you need to start working on healing yourself and stop trying to heal her. Heal you first. Get healthy first. And listen, I suggest to everybody, if you need some additional therapy, go to some therapy. I've been to therapy myself on at least 2 or 3 occasions. My teacher told me in school, she said, if you want to be a great therapist, the greatest therapists go to therapy themselves. I went to therapy for 24 weeks. I learned a lot about me.
24 weeks, that's 8 months.
I ain't counting much, man. I just got sick of seeing that woman. She got on my nerves because she was a rational, emotive therapist. So everything she did, because I'm intellectual, she made me go to what I think about the situation. That's all she kept doing. Well, tell me what you think about it. Why do you think that way? Where did it come from? Look at your childhood as well. Look at your childhood as well. Were you in a female-dominated environment? You'll see how you deal with women who seem to be assertive or aggressive towards you. You deal with them totally different. Because if you had a woman already raising you, telling you what to do and what not to do. I'll see y'all next month.
It's always a pleasure. Tuesday.
Thank you. Thank y'all for coming. Thank you for your participation. Your honest. Always good to see you.
Have a good night, Miss Tracy. Oh, whoa. Sorry.
Yeah, y'all supposed to be coming up with something. I'm ready. I can throw about 18 strikes. Well, let's bring it to Joe when he comes back. Let's bring it to Joe, because remember we talked about that in the beginning. I'm ready.
And my son brought it. You were damn telling me what my lucky strikes is like, Daddy. I'm going to have a bowling party.
Listen, I'm telling you, bring it
That's a good idea.
Everybody signed in, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it to Joe's attention next week when he comes out. And we'll make it happen, man, because the weather getting ready to break. We're going to have a short winter. I'm ready. And I want to do some outside stuff, you know, as well, man.
Has to be on Saturday.
That's cool, yeah, because my weekdays are really tough anyway.
All right, Spin.
All right, Fred, take care, man.
It is what it is. Not trying to go prison for 3 months. Not going to have anything. You don't have your reaction. You don't have right now. Don't let her action. Okay. You know what I'm saying? If you go up there and tell them all that,
They say
don't react right away. Sometimes the initial reaction is not
Everything's over.
same food to make me think. I'm going to say you were, it's not that big of a deal. Not that big. This is your monthly order?
You can't. Third party, excuse me. Like,
So this isn't sort of relationship recommended what they say.
It's not going to work out. Right, it is. That's why I saw it out there. November.
But I want to show them.
This is November.
Yes. They're not looking for 323. Right now. You'll see Joe Jones.
Every Tuesday.
Support hearings.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I just thought I was going to say, on the first step back, they took me, the sheriff came from the Gulf County, took me up there, I was up there for like 4 days.